Greetings, legendary readers. Welcome back to Larry's Legendary Library, where I like to talk about science fiction, fantasy, and other bits and bobs. Today I've got a real treat for you. We're going to dive into two legendary science fiction magazines that helped shape the genre as we know it: Galaxy Science Fiction and Worlds of If. In a comment on a previous video, somebody commented that they'd like to see my magazine collection, and my Worlds of If and Galaxy are a small collection. Then I have a few other small collections of other titles, and then the bulk of my collection is Asimov's and analog. And so over the next couple weeks or months, I'll try to show my collection. Let me talk first about the magazines, and then I'll show you what I have. These magazines weren't just throwaway pulp. They were the testing ground of some of the greatest science fiction minds of the 20th century. Think Heinlein, Guin, Ellison, and even Frank Herbert. And yes, I'll show you the issues I've collected and some that I'd still like to collect. Galaxy Science Fiction launched in 1950, right in the golden age of pulp sci-fi. It took a little different route from some of its competitors, where earlier magazines focused on bug-eyed monsters and ray guns. Galaxy went cerebral. It emphasized social commentary, satire, and speculative thinking. It was under the legendary editorship of H.L. Gold and later Frederick Pohl that the magazine thrived. Stories like Alfred Bester's The Demolished Man, which won the first ever Hugo Award, and early work by authors like Philip K. Dick and Cordwainer Smith made Galaxy a must-read magazine for science fiction fans. Now let's talk about Worlds of If. It started in 1952, and like Galaxy, it struggled a little bit in the early years. But when Frederick Pohl took over editing both Galaxy and If in the 1960s, If exploded in quality. From 1966 to 1968, it won the Hugo Award for Best Professional Magazine 3 years in a row. Interesting fact, Galaxy and If were sister magazines for many years, sharing editors and swapping stories, and that's why I'm covering them together in this video. Eventually they merged in the 70s under a single masthead before fizzling out, but their legacy lives on. Many now classic sci-fi novels started as serialized stories in these very magazines, and I'll show you some of those in a moment. I've been buying collections as I see them, and usually Asimov's and analog are more common to find. The Galaxy and Worlds of If are less common, but if they're included in a lot of magazines, then that's how I kind of add to my collection. Well, that's it for kind of the history. And I'm going to switch perspectives and show you some of my magazines. Okay, starting with Worlds of If. This is January 1968. This is a pretty ratty copy. And I'll have to admit, this collection is pretty humble. And I'm sure there are way better collections than what I have of this. But anyway, what I have, I'm happy to have. The Peacemakers by John Rankin. All Judgment Fled, James White. From Distant Earth, Basil Wells. Star Song by Fred Saberhagen. He That Moves, Roger Zelazny. So that's that issue. June 1973. Um, this is volume 21, number 11. Our Children's Children, that's a serial. This is part 1 of the serial, so it'd be nice to get the other issues by Clifford D. Simak. I guess I won't comment on any of those others, but he's cute, isn't he? And then my last Worlds of If. How to Blow Up an Asteroid, Duncan Lunan. Dingbat by Ron Goulart. Velvet Fields, Anne McCaffrey. Inheritance, conclusion of the serial, Robert Wells. So anyway, that's that issue. And now switching over to Galaxy, September 1969. It's interesting on this issue. Part 3 of Dune Messiah by Frank Herbert is in here, and he didn't even rank the cover. You've got Martians by Dr. Menzel, Larry Niven's Passerby, and then A.E. Van Vogt's Humans Go Home. So, but anyway, there's a short story by Joe Haldeman. And February 1970. That kind of looks like a late 60s, early 70s kind of psychedelic cover, doesn't it? The Shaker Revival, Gerald Jonas, Slow Sculpture, Theodore Sturgeon, A. Bertram Chandler, Sleeping Beauty, part 3 of a serial for Robert Silverberg, and so on. March 1973. This Project 40 by Frank Herbert is what eventually becomes Hellstrom's Hive, the novel that was published. And another one by A. Bertram Chandler, J.B. Clark, William Walling. July 1973. Luna 1, Ernest Taves, Ward Moore, Frank Merriwell in the White House, John Boyd, and so on. November 1973. Michael Curlin, Robert Sheckley, Ernest Taves again, R.A. Lafferty, Frederick Pohl, Some Joys Under the Stars, serial by James White. January 1974. The Only War We've Got, Joe Haldeman, Michael G. Coney, Joanna Russ, another James White, Fred Saberhagen. And this one, you'll see where they share the cover, Worlds of If and Galaxy, how they're combining. This is August 1975. Larry Niven, part 1 of 3. Well, I should say Larry and Jerry Pournelle. A. Bertram Chandler, Rim Change. David Drake, Ranks of Bronze. And so forth. And this one again has the shared, I don't know if that's called the masthead or what. The Faded Sun, Kesrith by C.J. Cherry. There's a Cordwainer Smith, Queen of the Afternoon. J.E. Pournelle. And then last but not least, this says volume 39, number 8. I'll have to look inside to get the date. November, December 1978. Gem by Frederick Pohl. George Jennings, Unemployment Problem. Some short stories, Andrew J. Speck, Winston Howlett, and Paul Walker. What I enjoy doing with these is when I become interested in an author and I look up the stuff they've written, and I look at ISFDB website, and I can find their short stories, and it'll say, where they're published. And so if I have the magazine, then I can pull it out and read it from my own magazine. Now, I do know you can get these public domain, I believe. At least I've seen some issues. I'm not sure how many, if you can get them all, or I haven't really researched all that, but I have seen where you can get some public domain. So you could download them and read them. Well, my wife's home and the dogs are barking. So that tells me I better end this video. Thanks for watching, and like and subscribe, and stay legendary.